Hi, and welcome to Always Eclectic Stacy. This is 5-minute chemistry where you teach you chemistry concepts and you can see examples in 5 minutes or less. This is our ionic compound series and we're taking balanced compounds and naming them. This is HSO₄. Let's get naming. Hi, welcome to Always Eclectic Stacy. This is 5-minute chemistry, and today we're taking a balanced compound and naming it. And the first part of balancing and naming any compound is determining whether it is an ionic compound or a covalent compound, because they do have different naming conventions. So for that one, we can see that it has a polyatomic HSO₄, and that really does let you know almost right away that it is a ionic compound. If you're unsure of the polyatomics or oxyanions, please go ahead and check out my video on them. But the other easy way of doing it is remembering that a covalent compound is a non-metal and a non-metal, whereas an ionic compound is a metal and a non-metal. So you can look at that first element or that first part of the compound and see, well, is this a non-metal? So we're going to look at the first element here, which is CO. And if you have a periodic table, you can go ahead and reference it. I know a lot of these. This is cobalt. So it is a metal, and more importantly, it is a transition metal, which means you have to be able to figure out the charge. So we can go ahead and just write cobalt here, because for a cation, which this is, it's just the whole element name. And if it was a monatomic, you would write cobalt, charge in parentheses, and then ion. But because it isn't a compound, you just drop those ions out. I'm going to put the blank parentheses here because we know something's going to go there. And then we can go ahead and look at HSO₄. There are 2 of them. This 2 does not go into the naming. You name what is in the parentheses. And that's HSO₄. And that ends up being hydrogen sulfate. We have cobalt with a charge of something, hydrogen sulfate. And now we can do the 2 different ways that we are going to look at determining the charge of cobalt. So you don't have to really know both of these. You can pick which one works best for you. If you've already done ionic equations or you're working on equations, the equation method is a really great way of seeing how it all works together. That's a little more complicated or a little too much thought process for you and you're worried about making a mistake. I always say go ahead and do that reverse LCM. But I will go ahead and do both for you. So we set it up. So we know that it's cobalt, CO, and we know we have 1 of them because there's 1 right here. There's written once, there's no subscript here. So we just write CO, and we know we're going to be adding the charge in a minute, but we can't add the charge right now because we don't know the charge. And then we have HSO₄, and we always base our charge determination on the anion or the negative polyatomic because those charges never change. They're static. And so we know we have 2. So we can write 2 out front because we have 2 HSO₄. This 2 here becomes a coefficient here. And the charge of HSO₄ is 1 negative. And adding these 2 together gets you this CO. HSO₄. This 2 just tells you how many of that you have. And this is really important because these 2 with the charges have to balance this element or this compound over here that has no charge. This is neutral. These 2 have charges. So that's really where your thinking is going. So this 2 here times 1 negative is a 2 negative. So we have to pick a charge for cobalt that will do that. So that 2 here actually becomes the coefficient, the superscript of cobalt. Cobalt 2 plus, because 2 plus plus 2 times 1 negative is 2 negative equals a neutral element. So we know it's going to be cobalt 2. But if this is a little tricky for you, I always say go ahead and do that reverse LCM. It works the same way. So you put your elements out here. We have cobalt and we have HSO₄. And we always start with your negative because those charges don't change. That first column is your charge or your charge number. For this one, I always say just do the charge number. It's a lot easier if you do it that way. And you're going to multiply it by how much the subscript is. And our subscript here is 2. So 1 times 2 gives me an LCM of 2. This 2 goes up for the cobalt, and we only have a 1 cobalt. There's no subscript. It's written one time, which means there's 1 cobalt. So we're going to write a 1 here. And that charge then goes here, and it's whatever makes this equation true, and that's going to be a 2. So cobalt 2, hydrogen sulfate is your name. Thank you so much for watching. Always Eclectic Stacy. If you liked our content, please do not forget to like and subscribe. And don't forget to check out our other videos. Have a great day.